Good afternoon. Happy February 1st, 2025. I wanted to try something a little different today and just get it all done in one take, so bear with me if I make any mistakes. I wanted to talk to you about Bokashi, which is a pre-compost fermentation that I use in my garden. And since we're quickly coming into the gardening season, I wanted to put this out there in case anybody's interested in trying it out in their own garden. Bokashi was believed to originate in ancient Korea and has been used across Asia for centuries, but just became popularized again in modern times in the 80s in Japan for a way to help get rid of commercial food waste. And Bokashi in Japanese stands for fermented organic matter. And the idea behind it is that you use this a bacteria to help ferment your food scraps, and then you can put it out to compost, and it breaks down much faster than in a traditional compost system. It's also called LAB, or lactobacillus bacteria. So what I do is it's a wild cultured lactobacillus bacteria, so I don't know what specific strains are in there, but it's besides in fermentation and pre-composting, it has a lot of other benefits. So I just want to go on a quick tangent real quick and show some love to these bacteria, because we've been programmed during the pandemic to kind of fear what we can't see, and this has so many benefits. It's used in animal husbandry as a inhibition to pathogens. It's sprayed on their food. It's good for their skin and coat health. It's used in piggeries to help reduce odor, good in digestive health, and the same benefits apply to humans as well. It's used in probiotics, cosmetics, and shampoos. It's considered an exfoliant. It's good for your scalp and hair health. In addition to using it for the fermentation, pre-compost, I also use it in my garden and in the house. I'll use it as in when I water my house plants. I'll dilute it 1 to 1,000 with some dechlorinated water. I will also use it in my garden as a foliar spray on my fruit trees to help inhibit any leaf-borne pathogens. I'll use it as a soil drench to help inhibit soil-borne pathogens. I've used it successfully in hydroponics to help reduce water mold pathogens such as Pythium, and it's fantastic. You could drink this. How many conventional farmers are going to say that they can drink what they apply to their crops? I'll get back to the Bokashi here. Like I mentioned, this is a fermentation. I use a bucket system that I made myself. You can certainly go buy stuff on Amazon that's already designed for Bokashi. It's going to cost a little bit more, but basically I just have a 2-bucket system. I use white food grade buckets. The top bucket has holes drilled into the bottom of it for the leachate, because as the food ferments, the moisture in that food is going to leach out and then collect into the bottom of the bucket. And you can't really see it, but I have a 3/8 inch inside diameter tubing around the lip of the bottom bucket. It's a 1/2 inch outside diameter. I cut a slit in the tubing so that I can wrap it around the top of the lid. This acts as, it helps seal the bucket. Because these buckets today, these modern buckets, are vented on the underside. You might recall the older buckets were kind of a pain to pull apart, so they added this, kind of a vent to the design. So this helps keep it sealed up, because this is an anaerobic system, meaning that there should be an absence of oxygen for this to work effectively. And then on the lid, I use a Gamma Seal lid. So I'll show you the label. So this is the lid I use. It's just a screw-on lid. You could do it for a little bit less expensive if you just want to get like a little snap-on kind of lid, as long as it has a little rubber gasket around the seal to help create that airtight seal. And in the bottom of the top bucket there, I'll just put some shredded brown paper on top, just to kind of help keep the food scraps from falling down into the bottom there. And I'll just take, my food scraps here. I mean, anything. That's the beauty about Bokashi, is you could put anything in it. Raw, cooked meat, fish, dairy. I mean, it doesn't matter. So I have here unbleached coffee filters with the coffee grounds. I've got eggs and vegetable and fruit scraps and all sorts of things. And what I'll do is, so this is one I started recently. I'll put my food scraps in here. You can see that white mold on top. That's normal. That's good. If it starts to get like purple or blue or black, that's not a good sign. But I've been doing this for probably 6 years now, and I've never had a batch go bad. As I mentioned, you could buy a bucket system on Amazon, or, well, I guess anywhere. You don't have to go to Amazon. We shouldn't buy everything from Amazon. But you can also buy inoculated Bokashi grains online as well, instead of using this lactobacillus bacteria. Now, if you go on YouTube and look this up, or go online, 99% of people are using inoculated grains, and I just think that's a waste of money. So I culture my own bacteria, and then I just put it in a little hand pump sprayer, and whenever I put my food scraps in the bucket, I just spray it. So I'll kind of demonstrate real quick how that works, the best as I can. So I'll just dump the food scraps in there. I even have some trimmings from a house plant. And then I'll take my little masher, kind of spread that out evenly. I'll give it a generous spray. Let's pump that a little bit more. So this LAB, lactic acid bacteria, that I culture is, I just use rice wash water and milk. That's all you need. Very cheap and effective. You don't need to go buy grains online. And then you can just store it in the fridge, and it stays good for, I mean, I've had mine in the fridge for up to 2 to 3 months, and it was still good. Now, then I'll just take this masher, I'll press it down. Like I mentioned, this is an anaerobic system, so we want to, make sure everything's nice and compact. We don't want a lot of air pockets in there. And that's it. Just put that on top. Put my lid back on, screw that back on nice and tight. I like to put a pillowcase on top, especially for the summertime. And, if we get some fruit flies in here, the fruit flies will like to, kind of congregate around where the rubber is here, trying to get in. They never do, but the pillowcase is just an added measure. And then what I'll do is, when I have that bucket filled up, I stick it down in my basement where it's a little cooler. That helps slow down the fermentation. And I'll keep it down there for, 4 weeks, 2 months maybe, sometimes in the winter time. If you have it in a warmer environment, you don't want to let it go as long. So if you're keeping it up in your kitchen, maybe 2 weeks. But then what you want to do is, after it's done fermenting for that period of time, you could just bring it outside and bury it in the ground, and within 2 to 4 weeks it's 90% gone. Really all that's going to be left at that point is eggshells, bones, skins of fruits that are a little bit tougher, such as pineapple or cantaloupe. Those are going to take a little bit longer to break down. Some people will do like a trench digging, so they'll dig a trench in their garden and bury it in there and cover it up. Others will bury this in the plot where they're going to plant their vegetables. So you'll want to bury this, let it decompose, let the worms and the bacteria and everything in the soil take care of it, and break it down for about 4 weeks before you plant into that spot. I used to do that, but it's kind of a pain because then when you start transplanting all your vegetables and still have more food scraps throughout the season you need to bury out there, then you got nowhere to bury it. So I just have 2 designated raised beds that I alternate between burying this Bokashi in. And then what I'll do is I'll take when it's broken down, I'll take that soil out of those raised beds and I'll use it as a top dress in my garden. I will also layer it into my traditional hot compost system just to kind of help speed things up there. The nice thing about Bokashi is it doesn't attract rodents or animals. You could bury it, and I've never had anything try and dig into there and get at it. I think this fermentation just kind of deters any animals from wanting to do that. So I have a 3-bucket system because I like to do this throughout the winter too. And with a 3-bucket system, if I time it right and I get everything buried outside before the first hard freeze, before my beds freeze, then I have enough buckets to kind of get me through the winter. So like I said, I'll leave some buckets in the basement for up to 2 months, maybe more if I have to, and wait till the soil's kind of thawed out in my raised beds so that I can go out there and bury it. You could just do this during the spring, summer, and fall as well. That way you don't have to have a bunch of different buckets. If you have a larger family, you might need more. You could, maybe 4 or 5 bucket system. It's whatever your preference is. And this is something great for the family. You can get the kids involved. It's fun and healthy. It provides all the nutrition my plants need in my garden. It's reduced my waste considerably. It keeps organic matter from going into the landfill and creating methane. And it's just something fun to do. If you got any questions or you're interested in trying this out and you want some direction on how to do this, just let me know. You can certainly go on YouTube or anywhere else and figure this out. Like I said, I do mine a little differently, so if you want to do it kind of like your self-made way with creating your buckets and culturing your own bacteria and saving some money and being just as effective, let me know. I can help you out. Thanks, guys.